Bonjour French 1. The purpose of this video is to introduce the idea of indefinite articles in the French language to you. If you can't tell from the screen, this is definitely a video where you need to hear the explanation. When we do simple vocab and we do repeating, it's important, but you can pretty much understand that it's a word-for-word translation. This is a grammar concept, which means you need to hear what's going on in this video to be able to truly grasp and understand it. So please make sure that your headphones or your volume or whatever it is turned up now so that you can actually hear the explanation. So having said that, in English, indefinite articles are the words a or an. They're considered to be indefinite because basically they can refer to any item. You're not saying the word the, that's called a definite article. You don't need the book. The book refers to a definite, specific book. You need the book that you left in class. You need the book that you're reading from the library. These are indefinite articles. They're the words a and an. You need a book, as in any old book will work. I just need a book so that I have something to read whenever I'm done with my work, kind of thing. In French, there are actually three indefinite articles. They are considered un, une, and des. An, which you need to be filling in on your paper, is the word a or an for a masculine item. We mentioned this on your notes for last class when we were learning our classroom objects. All of the objects that were on the left-hand side had the word an in front of them. It's a for anything that is considered to be masculine. Une is the word a or an for anything considered to be feminine. Again, if you're referring back to your paper from last class, it would be all the things that are on the right-hand side of your page. And des gets used anytime you have more than one item. It's known as plural. Plural means that there's more than one. Basically, des doesn't mean a or an, it means some. But these are all considered to be indefinite because when you ask for a book or some books, you're not getting really specific about which ones you want. So that's why they're considered to be indefinite articles. Now I want to remind you, I think I mentioned this on the notes thing from last class, there's no way to tell from looking at a word or an item whether it's masculine or feminine, and therefore whether you can use an or une. It's just something you have to memorize whenever you first learn the French word for a word. So that's why whenever you took your notes on classroom items, you had the left-hand side, right-hand side division, and you always wrote the word an or une in front of it so that you were memorizing whether it's masculine or feminine. There's no way, though, when you just look at a word to know that it needs an or une. It's something you have to have been taught, and then it's something you have to memorize or take the time to look up. You can, however, tell if an item is plural and if it needs the word some or the word des in front of it. And it's just like, for the most part, how it is in English. Usually you'll see an S at the end of it, and then you know it's more than one. So what I have for you is some samples or some examples down here. If you remember from your notes before, garçon is the word boy. If you need to decide which indefinite article to put with the word boy, whether it would be an or une or des, you have to think about the fact that boy, first of all, is not plural, so you're not going to say some boy. That doesn't make any sense at all. But then you have to think about whether it's masculine or feminine. Now with the word boy, it's very easy to figure out that it'd be un garçon for a boy, and it'd have to be the masculine word. But it's not always that easy, so stay with us here for just a moment. So with the word fille, with the word girl, again, you know right away it's not some girl because that doesn't make any sense right there. You need to say a girl, and the way you decide whether it's an for the word a or une for the word a is based on whether the thing you're describing is masculine or feminine. Of course, a girl is feminine. It's very easy to figure out. You would want to use une. Now, if you take either of these things, though, boy or girl, and you add an S to the end and make it boys, or you add an S to the end here and make it girls, then you can't use an or une anymore because it'd be like you're saying a boys or a girls, which would not make any sense. So that's where the word some comes into play. When you use des, you're saying some, and whatever the item is that comes next, it's going to have to be plural, which usually means adding an S to it. So des garçons with an S at the end would be some boys. Des filles with an S at the end would be some girls. So that's all fine and good when it comes to boys and girls that are clearly masculine and feminine, and it's all fine and good when you add an S and you know for sure that it's plural. But don't forget that items in French are also considered to be masculine or feminine. So when you're trying to figure out what indefinite article to put in front of the word poster, and you're trying to say a poster, well, first of all, your choices for a are either un or une. But the only way to know which one to use is you have to have memorized, or you have to look up, whether poster is masculine or feminine. When you look at your notes, you'll see that poster is masculine, and therefore you need to say un poster for a poster. Now on the flip side, when you look up chaise, when you look up chair, you'll see that chair actually happens to be a feminine item. So when you use the word a for chair, you have to use une chaise. Again, there's nothing about the word poster or the word chair that makes it look more masculine or feminine or seem more masculine or feminine. It's just whenever the first poster was created and they added the word to the French language, they decided that word from henceforth shall be masculine. Same thing, whenever the first chair was created and they said this is what we will call a chaise, they had to decide whether it was going to be an or une, and from there on out it was always feminine for a chair. So a couple other little things here. In a negative sentence, that's going to be one that has ne and pas in it. You saw this the other day and we mentioned it briefly on your previous notes. Il n'y a pas de is there is not. It's usually the word not. In negative sentences, and this is going to sound really random, the indefinite articles an, une, and des always change to the word de after pas. I don't have a good reason for this. It's just a silly grammar rule in French. It's something that you need to try and remember as an English speaker. So let me give you an example because I know it sounds weird to say the indefinite articles an, une, and des change to de after a pas in a negative sentence. It's a lot to remember. So let me just show you. We're in the show me state, right? So you have a perfectly lovely sentence here. Il y a des cartes. There are some maps. If you were to then want to do the negation of that sentence, say the negative form of that, and say there are not any maps, you know from last class that you put in a ne and pas, and you end up with that phrase il n'y a pas, which is there are not. Now, instead of leaving des cartes, though, and just putting in a ne here and a pas here and leaving everything else the same to make it negative, there's a weird rule in French that says that if pas has the word an or une or des after it, you get rid of that, and instead you always change it to de. So, il n'y a pas de cartes. There are not any maps. And when you first took your notes, you learned the phrase as il n'y a pas de, but I wanted to point out that the de part of that phrase is actually your article being changed from your an or your une or your des to de in this situation. So here we have one for you to try. Obviously, it's already on the screen, so you could have already written it down, but let's walk through it. Il y a une porte means there is a door. If you wanted to go ahead and put in a ne pas to make this negative and say there is not a door, you'd put your ne in here, you put your pas in here, and you end up with what we have right over here, il n'y a pas. But then you can't leave the une. You can't say il n'y a pas une porte. Even though there's une over here, une can never happen after the word pas. You always have to change the word an and une and des to the word de. Il n'y a pas de porte is the correct sentence there, for there is not a door.